just another normal week in the National Football League. When did you first have an inkling of what was going to go down on Wednesday night and then on Thursday?
About the time, I guess, that Bruce Arians decided to give the story to our good friends Sam Farmer and Peter King, which I still have a bone to pick with Bruce about that. What do I know? I'm a big guy. But, yeah, it's never a dull moment around here. We have retirement parties and then unretirement parties, and then I don't know who's next. But, listen, it was surprising to say the least, the timing of it. But then you listen to Bruce, and, I'm one that's always skeptical. Maybe not as skeptical as you, Mike, but a little bit skeptical about how these things come to pass. But you know what? In talking to Bruce, I do believe he wanted a role, that would last beyond his coaching years. And I know this was going to be his last year coaching. There's been some signs. When you go back and you look at it, you remember him at the combine doing very little, if anything, getting around on a cart like he did all season long. I know he says his health is not an issue. Believe me, it's an issue. He wants to stay as healthy as he is now. But there were a lot of reasons. And, I'm sure we'll get into Tom Brady, but I do think that there's a big part of Bruce Arians that has always wanted to take care of his guys. And I know he feels good about his decision.
Well, yeah, Mike alluded to, Rick, the Tom Brady, did he order the code red? So that's the obvious question. The big debate is, what kind of hand did Tom Brady play in this decision of Bruce Arians? Do you believe that Tom Brady ordered this code red?
I don't think that he did. This is not a Jack Nicholson moment on the stand. I do think, though, that he had certainly input about the direction he wanted things to go. And those guys have never been, at each other's throats. And Bruce is a very demanding coach. But from the standpoint of where there's something, Tom would not be a guy that would say, for example, hey, I'll come back if I don't have Bruce Arians to deal with. That's not his style. What he would say is, hey, here are some things I think we need to do. And those would be things that Bruce Arians doesn't want to do, right? Maybe an eye fullback, maybe more emphasis on running the ball. I don't want to throw it 700 times. I want to help our defense, complementary football, that sort of thing. And, so he might paint a picture where there's a number of things that he enumerated that, he knows Bruce isn't on board with. But regardless of what he said or who he said it to, there's no question he carries the biggest stick in this franchise. I mean, just look at who they have re-signed, and the 2 years that he's been here, they virtually have never said no to him about anything. Well, they may have. I don't know if Odell Beckham was a guy who wanted or not, and I don't know if he wanted Antonio Brown cut necessarily. But I think at the end of the day, they've given Tom everything that he's asked for. So, I just don't think it came down to, I'll come back if Bruce Arians isn't my head coach.
And let me flip it around, Rick, because this dawned on me Wednesday night as I was processing what had happened. Tom Brady unretires. 17 days later, his head coach is out. I got no sense of any dismay, disappointment, concern, nothing along the lines of, well, if I would have known that Arians was going to be gone, I wouldn't have come back. And there's no sense of regret from Ryan Jensen, Leonard Fournette, Logan Ryan. Have you heard any kind of, oh God, like this is a major problem for the team going forward? Or does it seem from the inside the same that we see it on the outside, that it's just going to be a smooth transition and nobody seems to be all that perturbed by it?
Yeah, I think the latter is true, Mike. And I think it's because if you watch Bruce every day, he has been the ultimate CEO coach with the Bucs, right? He came in here saying he wasn't going to call plays, wasn't going to stay up all night, doing scripts and things like that. And he stuck to that. And he lets his coaches coach. He got up there in his farewell address and said, I didn't do a damn thing. And I know he's being, a little magnanimous there, but part of that is true. He let his guys do a lot of the heavy lifting, most of it, in fact. And so from a day-to-day standpoint, and Bruce is still with the organization, this is the thing that I think gets overlooked, is that he's still going to have an influence on this club, whether it's with Jason Light in personnel, still being on the cart, at practice, whatever that is. And his guys aren't intimidated by that. They have coached this way, some of them for 30, 40 years. And so I don't think that there is any kind of panic or, gosh, I think we'll be, in disarray without Arians as our head coach. And so that's why I don't think you've seen, a lot of shock and awe necessarily once those players got the word.
Rick, Bruce Arians has talked about calling out Tom Brady, and he obviously did, perhaps more than any other player. He's not afraid to call out his quarterback, the GOAT. How would you describe their relationship from the inside, from what maybe we don't see on the outside?
Yeah, I think Tom has a lot of respect for Bruce. And I also think that before he chose Tampa Bay, this is the most prepared guy in football, right? Maybe in sport. And so he did his homework. He was trying to lead Belichick. He wanted to do it a different way. Certainly the roster attracted him here most of all because he had a chance to win. But he also knew that Bruce had handled celebrity quarterbacks before. I mean, he had Peyton Manning. He had guys like this. And so that was very important to him. And I think that they got along great. I mean, I didn't see the sort of schism that people have alleged. Like any relationship, they weren't always, together. I mean, that first year was bumpier than hell. They were 7-5. Tom was taking a bunch of 7-step drops. They didn't have any pre-snap motion. They didn't have a lot of play action. And they had a meeting of the minds, and Tom got his way. And now you see an offense that resembles exactly what he did in New England. That's not by accident. Tom was shocked that Bruce Arians had very little or no input whatsoever on the offense. He let Byron Leftwich do it, and Byron was not prepared the way Tom is, obviously. So I think a lot of that was worked out in the first year. These stories about redlining game plans and things like that just simply, I don't think, ever happened. But again, going forward, I think Tom has a clear vision of what he wants. It may not be exactly what he's been doing here these last 2 years. And so, Todd Bowles is going to enact some of those things. So I think Todd believes in, more of a commitment to the run game, protecting the defense, playing more of a complementary game, maybe not making them throw it 700 times a year. So I think you're going to see some changes, and they're going to be changes that Tom wanted.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.